Hello there, welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. How you doing, friend? I hope you're doing well, I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News. That's right, here in the Stamford Bridge studio, I'm here to deliver to you all what's being said about Chelsea Football Club, cultivating and aggregating Wagwan, giving my opinion on it, more importantly asking for yours, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about potential midfield and striker targets, perhaps alternatives that you hadn't thought of. To be honest, you almost certainly have thought of them. Chelsea making even more changes behind the scenes, getting some insight on that, what Joelle Felix said, and a little update, well, just to where we are on Mason Mount. So there's, as always, at this time of the season, lots to get into, so strap yourselves in. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoy the content and you want to support the content, drop a like on the video, it's a way of doing it. And as I said, stuff's popping off all the time now, so if you choose to subscribe, or if you are already subscribed, make sure you hit that bell notifications icon to get notified when I upload, because things happen very quickly, certainly in this industry, but at the moment as well. Right, before we get into some juicy stuff, just a quick update on Mason Mount from Give Me Sport. Mount, who is earning £76,000 per week, which of course, on the surface, sounds like a lot of money, but when you find out that's about half of what Ruben Loftus-Cheek earns, and then you consider how integral Mason Mount has been to Chelsea the last 3 years, of course, winning the Champions League, Club World Cup, Super Cup, qualifying for Europe and stuff, reaching many, many finals. We've kind of been stealing from him, really, when you consider certain, players are on silly money and sit on the bench. Oh, don't even make the squad. Of course, he's out of contract at the end of next season. He's been heavily linked with a move away from Chelsea. Reports of Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, and of Newcastle United, as well as, of course, out of the Premier League. Bayern Munich are all very interested in the young England international. So The Athletic have suggested, despite his current deal only having a year left, Chelsea will demand in the region of £70 million to leave. Yes, I mean, ultimately, teams who would want him for next season that feel like they can challenge for the Champions League again, like Arsenal and Newcastle, knowing that next campaign is going to be more competitive because Liverpool, Chelsea, and indeed Tottenham will be better. The top four race will be more competitive. Brighton look like they're going from strength to strength, and etc. So people will be like, who need a midfielder, they would think it's just worth investing now and making sure others don't get Mason Mount, and we do. Of course, Chelsea are yet to agree an extension with him. We've got a new wage structure where we don't pay that much. The likes of Reece James got in there first, but I think no one would begrudge Reece James being on a high wage, apart from his injury concerns. So Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, they'll all just offer Mason Mount a massive wage off the bat. So there's that. So what's Fabrizio Romano said about Mason Mount? He told Give Me Sport this. I think they have to make a decision very soon because they can't be there with a risk of a player out of contract. And he said also today, I believe that, or yesterday, it's becoming harder and harder. I think the reality of Mason Mount being sold is coming close. So, whichever side of the fence you're on, make peace with that probability. Let's move on. Joelle Felix speaking to, I assume, Chelsea TV. I know he was being interviewed with Cover and someone else, and he was asked a question about his future. Now, this is a really, really, really interesting one. He's a compelling case, Joelle Felix, because he's so talented, he's so young, he's very experienced despite being so young. I think his injury record's probably quite good. He speaks, a few languages, Portuguese, Spanish, English, which is helpful generally in a sort of, multicultural squad like Chelsea. Atletico Madrid are free scoring of late, and they did a lot better when they got rid of him in January. I'm not directly putting that down to Joelle Felix, but they clearly play better without him for one reason or another, and they found a way to play structurally. Now, I'm not saying Chelsea should look at that and think, without Felix we'll be better. Of course, he hasn't featured recently, but it's going to be very difficult. He said this about Chelsea. I don't know yet my future, but these 4-5 months at Chelsea, I've loved it. It's a top club. Everyone in the club was very good to me. My teammates, unbelievable. I really like to be here. I would really like to be here. I think he was saying, like, I love it here, I want to stay. Wow. Finishing the bottom half of the table and you're saying, what a great experience, is testament. I think he probably does love living in London and he feels like at home at the club. And he probably can see and foresee development at Chelsea. Certainly profound investment. With the new stadium coming, you know, you could probably bet your bottom dollar that Cobham will be upgraded. And the team will be excellent. So he probably wants to be a part of that. And the alternative is going back to Atletico Madrid, which he just doesn't want to return to. Atletico will want to sell him. He doesn't want to return. It's kind of like the opposite of Romelu Lukaku and Chelsea, or the other way around. Like Lukaku doesn't want to come back. Inter doesn't want him to leave or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But it'll be very, very difficult to see systemically how we accommodate what will be a very, very expensive signing. And if that's worth piling all the resources. Of course, we've discussed the loan. Maybe that's the way we can make it work. Of course, it will all be up to Pochettino. Let's move on. So before we talk about some players that could come in, Matt Law writes about Tom Glick's exit. Of course, I think it was broken by the Times. Tom Glick is the big business guy. Let's just read and find out, shall we? Chelsea are set for even more upheaval with, here we go, president of business Tom Glick to leave the club just after 10 months. The Blues have not commented on Glick's position, but the Telegraph Sport understands. Do they understand from the Times or from their own informants? Sources, that's what to say. The former Manchester City executive has handed in his resignation. I reckon a little jump before push, potentially, because of the new geezer. News of Glick's departure comes after it emerged that Chris Jurassic Park, just Jurassic, is set to take over as Chelsea's new chief executive officer, and that would have worked above Glick. So originally we spoke about this, and we didn't break it on the channel, we reacted on the channel, and he'd be essentially, someone would go above him and he'd report to this geezer. So this geezer, Jurassic, is an operating officer for Chelsea's co-owners, Clearlake Capital, and will be in charge of the commercial side of business. I've got no issue with that, because, it's not a football thing, and Clearlake Capital have made a hell of a lot of money. And Chelsea just need to make a hell of a lot of money. So it kind of makes sense, and I don't think anyone can dispute this is a good move. Earlier this month, Glick was at Wembley to watch the Women's FA Cup final. In the first year of the ownership, Bowley and Clearlake Capital have sacked 2 head coaches and were forced to dismiss Damien Willoughby, who had been hired as a commercial director by Glick. Oh yeah, remember the scandals? Oh my god, so Willoughby was found to be sending inappropriate... I shouldn't laugh, this is obviously terrible. Inappropriate messages to businesswoman Catalina Kim, who also made a complaint about Glick's alleged handling of the situation. Do you remember that? He was sacked barely as he came in. So Catalina Kim, she was one of the people who wanted to buy Chelsea in terms of the consortium. She put together a bunch of people, I think. It also has been a disastrous year on the pitch for Chelsea's owners, with the club stuck in the bottom half of the table and on course to the record their worst ever Premier League points total, despite £600 million spent, which hasn't been referenced in this article, which is a collector's item. Chelsea are preparing to announce Mauricio Pochettino as the club's new permanent head coach to start work in the summer, after the Argentine agrees terms to succeed the Graham Potter. And there will be many more changes of personnel over the summer, with the club planning a summer clear-out plays. Get them all out. And of course, it goes on to do a bit more. Feel free to read Matt Law's work. It's very good. No issue with me. Glick, we hardly knew you, mate. See you later. If there's a big cat from Clearlake Capital coming in to get us a new sponsor on the chest. We haven't got a sponsor. 3 has expired. Allianz, it looks quite good. passes the vibe check for me. We've, of course, done a video on that a few weeks ago. We will keep up the story. We'll follow the story very closely, and I will give you updates as and when. So make sure you... Ooh, I was going to do this little one here. As and when, keep it locked and subscribe, of course. What we're going to talk about now is a couple of players. Ideally, you want Declan Rice and Victor Osimhen. But Chelsea aren't in the Champions League. We're not in the sweetest spot of financial fair play, despite having an opportunity to generate a lot of revenue via sales. We're going to look elsewhere. First of all, Moises Sado, the Ecuadorian central midfielder who can play at fullback as well, positionally versatile. But yes, another Brighton player, and with that, if Ben White's 50 million, if Cucurella's 62 million, who knows how much Moises Caicedo is going to be. I think they've already quoted 70 plus million for him. Yes, he is a very, very good player. He's younger than Declan Rice. He is only 21. Damn, he's only 21. So he's very, very young, 21. But I think, how long has he been there for? Like, he's been there for a year. I'm just quickly going to check out when he signed for Brighton and how much for, because I think this is probably going to hurt all our feelings collectively. So yes, he signed for. Oh, they loaned him. They loaned him back to his parent club, or they loaned him. They loaned him to a Belgian club. Oh my God, he cost them 5 million euros. He cost them 5 million euros, and they're gonna sell him for 70. This hurts my. I knew I didn't want to look at that. 5 million euros. It's the same as friggin' Enzo Fernandez costing like 12 million, and 6 months later he cost 105 million. This is similar to that. You're literally paying like £100 million premiums for a club's scouting, essentially. This hurts. Anyway, sorry for that, but he's a very good player, Moises Caicedo. I'm looking at his scouting report now. Very, very, very good at passing. His top metrics on his scouting report are he doesn't pass offside, his short passes completed, his general pass completion, his passes attempted. He wins a lot of aerials, which is good. I think he's probably quite tall. He likes to tackle dribblers, so people carrying the ball, which is good. But N'Golo Kante, his tackles and interceptions is pretty strong. And he seems like a bit of an all-rounder. He can, of course, play in different positions, but we're looking for someone to stay back, stop transitions, and let Enzo Fernandez go forwards. Moises Caicedo could very much be that player. This is, by the way, why we need... this is why we need a multi-club model, because we pick up these players ourselves. We do what Brighton's doing, and we don't spend hundreds of millions on these players when they cost a few million just months ago. He would want to come to Chelsea, no doubt. I think we'd be able to sign him should Declan Rice go to Arsenal. Of course, Arsenal are very interested in Caicedo, but if they get their boy in Declan Rice, who's everyone's first choice, but Arsenal are in the strongest position to sign him, then maybe we get a free run at Moises Caicedo. I'm looking now on FBref. Apparently his wages are 15k a week, 15k a week. So Chelsea could probably, really, really comfortably offer him the structured, we could probably offer him like 60, 70k a week, and he'd go, yes, please. But incentivized so that he can generate more. So yeah, this dude's career trajectory is just like profound. So let me know what you think of Caicedo as a potential midfield partner for Enzo long term, and let's move on. Cool. So strikers, Lukaku will stay at Inter, I think. We'll find a way to make that happen. Kane is a dream for me. I think he'd be a perfect bridge while we develop Armando Broja. He's just so good. Of course, Poch would love to work with Harry Kane again, but I just don't think the Spurs to Chelsea transfer will happen, especially after Poch turns up. Levy is already in the trenches at Tottenham Hotspur. Every game, Levy out. Every social media thing, Levy out. They'll be really frustrated that Poch is turning up to Chelsea, and if he sells Kane to Chelsea with Poch, Tottenham fans, As funny as it would be for Chelsea, it would just be they wouldn't be able to take it, Tottenham fans, and he can't do that. So he'd probably sell, I imagine, for less to like a Manchester United. I don't think we'll get Osimhen. I think Osimhen might go to Bayern. I don't think we can attract him. So that doesn't leave us with much. Of course, there's Lautaro Martinez. We can do business with Inter. There's Vlahovic. But there's also a player that has been spoken about, Kolo Muani, Randall Kolo Muani, who plays in the Bundesliga, of course. Relatively young player, 24 years old. He's sort of closer to age with Breuer. So I think, personally, Kane would be perfect. He's like a 30-year-old, play for 2 or 3 years as the first guy. Breuer trains under him. Poch does his Harry Kaning Tom under Breuer, and then you make that transition really well. But I don't think it's going to happen. So Kolo Muani did feature for France in the World Cup, of course, coming on and being that sort of, because Giroud played, but also Karim Benzema was injured, so he was utilised out there. Like I said, he's 24 years old. He plays for Frankfurt. He's a France international playing in the Bundesliga. He scored a few goals. I'm looking at his scouting report now. His strengths are successful take-ons that lead to a shot attempt. So this dude dribbles and shoots. In terms of his, I think he's less big target man and more of like a mobile. Like if you so his top metrics, he's like 99th percentile carries that take-ons that turn into shots, carries into the penalty area, 98th percentile. He's in the 97th percentile for assists for a centre forward, so he gets a lot of assists for a striker. Take-ons attempted, goal-creating actions, live passes that lead to a goal, progressive carries, successful take-ons, carries into the final third, expected assists. So the guy scores goals, but he creates chances, dribbles into the area, makes loads of assists, which is actually quite interesting. Kind of could represent a sort of false nine. Maybe like we know that can work in the Premier League if you've got scoring wingers. Of course, the biggest benchmark for that is Roberto Firmino and his pomp a few years ago. I haven't watched Kolo Muani play, so I might be wrong in this speculation here, looking at these stats. But I think it could be quite an interesting thing. And, if you get you're going to have to start getting goals out of Madueke and Mudryk to really optimize this kind of profile. And at the moment, that looks like a big job for old Pochettino, but we need goal scorers somewhere, man. So, let me know what you think about Muani, and if you think that's a good option. Things will move very, very quickly now. We are nearing the end, the final battle of Chelsea's transition. Many outs, a few wins, a manager, some tactics, and some planning. So we're going to cover it all here. Thanks for joining me. Please do consider leaving a like if you're yet to do so. You're welcome to subscribe. Do keep it locked. I look forward to seeing you guys again very, very soon. Peace.